My name is Dean Graves, and I'm one of the co-founders of Prima Healing Meditation. What we're doing here tonight is you're allowing me to present to you information that I have learned about our existence and changes to that existence that are imminent. The information that I'm providing you is, I did not originate. It comes to me from several sources. The primary source is my higher self. My higher self provided a series of channelings in the early 1980s to a group of 3 people in Louisville, Kentucky. And they recorded the channelings, and it's very empirical. They went through a question and answer period in a series of 105 sessions. It lasted a little over a year, and they have published that in 5 different books. And it's significant information, but it's not complete information because it was in a question and answer format, and the people that were asking the questions were learning as they went. And so consequently there are gaps in the information where they didn't know to ask the questions, and it doesn't flow. In other words, they dealt with one topic and kind of went down a path that seemed interesting and then backed up and went down another path. But it's excellent information. The balance of the information and a lot of the filling in of the information I've gotten directly from my higher self after I learned to talk to my higher self. And they've been quite informative with information and quite detailed in information. And what we will cover in these 8 weeks is not complete. We're not attempting to get into the deep philosophy or intricacies of the information that has been given. We can do that at a later time, but what we're going to try to do is an overall view of who we are, how we got here, what we are in the process of doing, what we're going to be doing soon, and changes to our existence that are taking place. I encourage questions. If you have a question, if there's anything that I'm explaining and I'm not explaining it adequately for you to understand, please raise your hand or just shout out the question, because if you're thinking the question you don't understand, undoubtedly some other people will be in the same boat. We also are going to post this on YouTube. So if you miss a week, you can go to YouTube and get caught up. The information is sequential, and it will be difficult to grasp the later information without that intervening information. Possibly. May not. But it will be available to you there in order to get caught up to date as you do this. Now, that doesn't mean you can all go home and not ever come back and just watch it on YouTube, but it's bad like saying we're going to broadcast a football game, you don't have to come. We appreciate you being here, and you won't get to ask questions if you just watch it on YouTube. All of the information that we're presenting tonight and in this series is about the law of one. And the law of one has been given to humanity many times over our history. It has, almost without exception, been distorted and has been taken and incorporated into a religious format or into a format that establishes an elite. In other words, the people that learned this information took it, ordered it, and established themselves as superior to the rest of the population that didn't have this information. But this information is available to anyone. It is available to you directly through your higher self. Those of you that have taken our course to learn how to talk to yourself, highly encourage you to question everything that I give you and explore it on your own. So again, I'm sharing information, and we want you to be comfortable with this information absolutely to your own satisfaction. Okay? The law of one is a very simple principle. It begins, informationally, it begins with the beginnings of creation. And that is what we're going to start with tonight, is to give you the background on how the law of one can be. The law of one is very simple on its surface. The law of one means that everything is one. Everything is the Creator. There is nothing that is separate from the Creator. Every thought, every aspect, every person is a part of the Creator. Not a spark, not made in the likeness of the Creator, but the Creator. Every time that you have an experience, every time you think a thought, every time that you feel a feeling, feel an emotion, you are the Creator experiencing your life. Okay? And how that happens, that began, and I'm going to have to follow my notes if you don't mind, so I'm going to be referring to this and try to do some illustrations of this for you. The creation begins and ends in mystery, even from the sources as higher consciousness as my higher self does not know the originations of the Creator and doesn't know ultimately where it's going. But the Creator, for sake of illustration, begins as a dot. And that begins in mystery. The Creator began creation for one simple purpose. He made the decision that He wanted to know itself. Or it wanted to know itself. Excuse my gender crossing there. And in order to do that, we have to, or understand that, we have to consider how we know anything. We can read every book that was ever written and be the world's absolute book authority on something, but until we experience something, we don't know it. So the Creator knew everything but could not experience anything. So the Creator began to create a scenario where He could know things through actual experience. And in order to do that, began with the creation of infinity. Infinity was the first thing in creation. And before we get to that, let me emphasize one thing that you need to keep in mind in your analysis of this information. In our level of consciousness, we perceive things as being a cause and effect relationship. A happens, then B happens, then C happens. That's not the way it is. That is our limited ability to perceive things. Actually, the way things happen is more like this. Anything can happen. Anything that can be perceived can and does happen. It does not have to be in a cause and effect relationship. It does not have to follow one step to another step to another step. So keep this in mind of when you run into a problem. Well, how could that possibly be? It's because from higher consciousness, from the Creator's perspective, anything can happen. It does not have to have a cause and effect relationship. So the Creator created infinity. It was the first thing in creation. So He's created infinity. What does that mean? Not a lot. But infinity became intelligent, which was the next step in creation. In other words, all of this became the Creator. It is all one. Okay? The next thing that the Creator did was to take a portion of itself and install in this portion of itself the perception that it was separate from the Creator. But it was really not. It's within the Creator. And how the Creator did this is by becoming aware. The Creator focused its attention on a portion of itself. How do we become aware of anything? How do we become aware of that picture? It's over there, but we're not aware of it. We become aware of it when we focus our attention on it, which is exactly what the Creator did, focused its attention on a portion of itself. So this then becomes the subject that's backwards, excuse me. Just like we're focusing on that picture, this becomes the object, and the original creator becomes subject. Okay? So this part of the creator now becomes aware. This part of the creator, the only distinction between this part of the creator and this part of the creator, the undistorted part of the creator, is the perception that it is separate, which is the first distortion of creation. And it is the creation of free will. Since this part of the creator perceived itself as being separate from the creator, having all of the attributes of the creator, it perceived itself to have free will. The second distortion, and that is the first distortion of the law of one. Still, the law of one is in effect. This is all still the creator. There's nothing outside of the creator. There's no distinction between these two other than the perception that the creator has installed into a portion of itself by focusing its attention on that makes a distinction between the two. This part of the creator perceives itself as being separate. Still has all the creative abilities, all the awarenesses, all the intelligence of the original creator. No distinction whatsoever. Part of this, the second distortion, is the distortion of love, which is synonymous with the creative principle. Which simply means that this had the desire to know itself also. And it had the creative ability to pursue it, to investigate it. Okay? Is that clear? Clear as mud? Okay. Okay, so we have the creator with a portion of the creator perceiving itself as being separate. Now, this being the element of free will, well, again, let me back up, I'm sorry. All of this part of the creator is called intelligent infinity. Somebody be my spell checker.
You need to put an N in front of down here.
Wow.
Can't help
That-
it. That's correct.
Okay, all of this is called intelligent infinity, which, and we'll clarify this for you in a minute, this is the consciousness of the Creator. This is actually all that actually exists in creation. Okay, out of intelligent infinity, everything else comes. Now what happens to this is it is still within intelligent infinity. It still has the capacity to tap in and create out of intelligent infinity because it is the Creator. But we have to call this something differently. We call this consciousness. We have consciousness because we are part of the separated Creator. Actually, what this is intelligent infinity that perceives itself separate from the Creator, and so we have to call it something different. We call it consciousness. This is how we experience, this is how we create in our environment. Okay? And the only thing that keeps us from here is our perception of free will. In all of our evolutionary process, which we'll get to next week, we are striving to unite with the Creator. That is the love and creative principle that we have this natural, can't do without it desire in order to return and perceive ourselves as being part of the Creator. All of the spiritual teachings that we have going back to the beginning of mankind all strive towards dissolving our ego, dissolving our perceptions of separateness, so that we again will perceive ourselves and be part of the Creator. That is the entire evolutionary process. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
Spell check. Infinity?
Is that infinite or infinity?
Yeah.
Well, it's infinity, but I'm going to erase it, so.
So it wasn't infinity.
So at this point, we have the Creator who has created infinity. We have the Creator that has become aware. We have the Creator that has created the first distortion of the law of one, which is perception, the perception that we are separate from the Creator. And we have the second distortion of the law of one, which is the creative principle, or love. And everything from that point will be headed towards us. Okay, also too, creation is a fractal system. And what that means very simply, a fractal system is everything in creation is just a smaller version of the bigger version. Some of the analysis that the Etrurian man that Da Vinci drew is all proportionate. Everyone's arms are proportionate to the rest of their body in the same way. Every tree is proportionate in size and scale to the rest of the forest. Every forest is proportionate in scale to any other forest on the planet. Every planet is, again, proportionate in dimension to scale to every other planet in the universe. So there's a system, there's an organization that is all fractal. And if anybody wants to investigate fractal more, Greg Braden has done some excellent work on describing and defining how fractals work and what a fractal system is. Okay, the creation from this point is all done by the smaller version. Okay? Everything else has been created by the separated portion of the Creator. It's still the Creator, but it's the portion that perceives itself to be separate. The
I have a question about that.
Okay.
Would that be the same as the co-creator, or is what you're saying is separate from the creator? Would that be in the relationship with the creator and the co-creator?
Well, our perception would be that it is a co-creator, but under the law of one, it's still the Creator. The only thing that separates the co-creator, understand the semantics of it, but from a semantical standpoint, you could say that it is the co-creator, but it actually is Creator. There can be no separation between Creator and perceived separated part of the Creator.
Okay, because of the law of one that's in
Mhm.
place, okay.
Yeah, everything is within the Creator.
When you say co-creator, you basically are establishing duality there, so there's really no such thing as co-creator.
Well, there isn't, but there is the perception of polarity, and the establishment of the portion of free will establishes the first polarity. There's no substance to it when you back up and look at the big picture, but that is the establishment of the first polarity and the first separation, that we perceive ourselves as separate from the Creator, even though we are within the Creator and made of intelligent infinity. Okay? But for understanding purposes, yeah, that's fine. Okay. What the co-creator came up with is the concept of manyness. Manyness is a finite concept, and everything within the creation process beyond that initial first step of free will is made under the concept of manyness. There's really only one, but it's the perception that there are many. And the concept of manyness is infinite, even though manyness itself is finite, because it's created by an infinite source. So it's like making widgets. You've got an infinite supply of material to make widgets, so you can make them forever in an infinite quantity, but it is a finite concept. It is a finite perception. So we perceive ourselves to all be separate in multitudes of beings and experiences, but in actuality, it's still all one. Again, it's following that concept of separateness from the Creator. But manyness is how it was determined that we would best experience creation. And again, the purpose of creation is to provide the Creator with the opportunity to know itself. Okay? So every experience that we have is the Creator experiencing itself. The only one that doesn't know it is us. Okay? Next on my list, Jim. Good question. Okay, the separated portion of the Creator finds focus, as did the Creator. And so I'm going to draw this as representative of the separated portion of the Creator. In order to fulfill the ambition of creating experiences for the Creator with the concept of manyness, the separated portion of the Creator created what are called octaves. Okay? And there is an infinity of octaves. And what an octave is it is a device. It is actually a logos, which is the focus of the Creator's knowingness into intelligent infinity. So creates an infinity of octaves. Each octave is a little bit different. There are no two octaves that are exactly the same. There is no duplication in all of creation. There's no need for duplication. The need is to create different experiences for the Creator so that the Creator might know itself. Okay? And these octaves, just like a musical scale, there are 8 layers in every octave. And these layers are differentiated just like a video game is, and some of you have heard me refer to our experience as a video game. Each octave establishes parameters for things to happen within it, and each octave is separate. It's different. Those of you that are familiar with video games, you can buy a game for the video game, and you can do anything within the parameters that have been programmed for that video game. Anything that your creative mind can imagine. And that's exactly what happens in the octave. Anything within the parameters of that octave can be created and experienced. And it's difficult, we, matter of fact, cannot understand infinity at our level of consciousness, and that's by design. But there's an infinity. There is no counting. There's no limitation whatsoever on the number of octaves that exist. But all of the octaves, and you're going to see how poor my drawing skills are here in a minute, are designed into 8 levels of consciousness. And if you recall, consciousness is our intelligent infinity that we perceive to be separate from the Creator. Okay? Where's my camera? 2 more layers.
One more in here.
Okay. Every octave, and here is again the perception of separation. Every octave is divided into 8 layers. And what distinguishes these layers are called densities. Every layer has a different level of consciousness. In each layer has a range of consciousness. Each range of consciousness is designed to provide a certain type of experience for the Creator. This is the same energy as this, but this has lower consciousness, lower intelligence, lower ability to perceive what we're talking about here. Okay? We are here in the 3rd layer, and a bunch of layers above us. Now the 8th layer is actually the separated portion of the Creator. Its only distortion is the perception that it is separate. Okay? And those of you who have been studying Ra is now 7th density. These are called densities. And the distinction, and that's supposed to be a straight line.
I'm glad you said that. I was thinking it was an art chart.
Perception that's not.
If you look at it this way, it's
Your perception is right.
well over here. Okay. Each is a defined set of consciousness. But in order to make the experiences in this, if we didn't have some other mechanism in order to experience the octaves that we've created, it would be simply in a consciousness experience. So, as part of the creation of the octaves, this guy, who is the separated portion of the Creator, created what's called intelligent energy. As part of each and every octave. What intelligent energy turns into is light. Okay? Intelligent energy is the kinetic portion of creation. Intelligent infinity and or consciousness is the potential element of creation. So intelligent energy is what everything that we perceive to be physical is made of. And it's all made of light. There's no matter. You can look for the Higgs boson particle all day long, and you will never find it because it doesn't exist. There is no physicality to any of the creative process whatsoever. Okay?
So where's the line diagonal, the straight line represent?
Well, that's why I'm going to get to that. I had to explain the intelligent energy first.
Okay.
As we proceed down the density scale, and again, consider that this is all the creator. There's no separation. This is all directed by the separated portion of the creator. And in order to lower or to create the densities and create the ranges of consciousness, you had to find a way to limit the consciousness so that you have actually access to this full consciousness here, but somehow you've got to create a situation down here where it's perceived that there's less consciousness. So you have a ratio of intelligent energy that is vast at the lower densities. The first density would be an example of inorganic matter, or organic matter that operates purely on automatic functioning. Minor, the earliest, most primitive amoeba, things of that nature, that don't think, they don't even have instinct, they just do what they're supposed to do.
That react.
They don't, not really. They react only from the standpoint of survival. Reaction actually is a function of second density. Okay? Now, what happens, and we'll get into this more when we get to evolution, but the greater portion of intelligent energy is added to this level of consciousness, and a minimum amount of consciousness is added to this layer. We all begin at this layer. Okay? And what this layer is comprised of is earth, water, atmosphere, and fire. The old Indian proverbs about being the four elements, there's a reason for that, because we all begin with that. Each density has purposeful experiences. These also correspond to our chakras. Blank and spelling chakras. Our first chakra corresponds to the first density. The second chakra, second density, and so forth. Each chakra is designed to be, again, a fractal of the larger system. Okay?
Is that lowest level the root chakra and the top level the crown chakra?
Uh-huh.
Or the opposite?
Well, actually this is the crown chakra, and when we get into the chakras, you'll see that the Upanishad teachings miss one. Okay? This chakra right here is not in the ancient teachings of the Upanishad. So that we have 8 chakras within us, as opposed to 7 within us. Okay? And this one is called the voice of God. And all the elements of the other chakras are combined in here, and the work that you have to do on these chakras is consolidated, and all has to be done in here in our relation and perspective to the Creator.
Is that here?
Hmm?
Where is it?
It's actually part of the
Third eye?
sixth chakra, and if you look in the Buddhist teachings, they have an indigo background with a golden insert, and that's exactly what this is. It is the golden insert is the color of this chakra.
I thought you had mentioned that there was one here too.
Well, that's really where it is, but it's part of this chakra. So we'll have to get to when I explain. This is the chakra for the indigo ray chakra, and the indigo ray energy is 6th density, but the sixth density is the biggest chakra. In other words, we're going to get to that in a few minutes. Okay? Because that requires some explanation of how that happens. Okay, any questions about any of this? Anybody lost? Anybody?
Dean, sorry, you said intelligent energy is all light.
Intelligent energy is the kinetic energy of the Creator. And it manifests in the form of light. And light is the basis of all matter creation.
Everything we call matter.
Is all light. And it goes through a series of steps that are subatomic. And what we perceive to be subatomic is several steps beyond light. I mean, there are about 6 steps in between light and what we perceive to be subatomic. Okay? Yeah, I'm not asking any questions. We're going to get through this.
You're doing such a good job.
Yeah.
Are you going to be referencing the chakras outside of the physical
I'm sorry?
body? Are you going to be referencing any of the chakras that go outside of the physical body later?
No, because all the chakras outside of the body are simply secondary chakras to the primary chakras.
Okay.
Okay? And we'll get into the description of the chakras. The chakras are much more involved in this. Okay? Evolution is the system that permits us to experience life. It's how the Creator experiences life. This is essentially the format. And you have to understand that this that we've drawn here is multiplied an infinite number of times. So there are simultaneously an infinite number of experiences going on. And we are just inside one little box here that we're talking about. But they all have 8 divisions with different parameters to their video game. Okay? But evolution is this process of lowering our consciousness so that we will begin to have a certain type of experiences. And as we do that, our consciousness is perceptually diluted. It is watered down, so to say, so that we can only understand and have certain types of experiences. And the process of evolution is the process of returning to the Creator. So we begin. Sorry, my pages stuck together here. Isn't that Halloween candy? Okay, the process of evolution begins, as we illustrated with the Creator, is sent away from the Creator, and we return from the Creator. So we begin and end in mystery, we begin and end at the same place. And that is our objective through evolution. Okay, now the densities. Okay, the 8th density invests energy into the octave and creates 7th density. The 7th density takes more of a hands-on role in creating the experience within the octave. 6th density is created by 7th density and takes an even more active role in the creation. From 5th density on down, it is much more experiential. It is creative, but it is much more creative than 6th or 7th density. The 6th density actually serves as our higher self. So when you talk to your higher self, or you think you're talking to your higher self, or whatever, That is your you on the 6th density level that you're talking to. Okay, how we regulate the amount of consciousness that goes into each area, we do through our DNA, which is just manifest into physical form. This is actually coding, which they do call it DNA coding. They got that part right. But it is actually coding of our energy that causes us to fit into one density or another density. And we have 64 strands that manifest in physical form of our DNA. And we have 8 densities, 7 densities, 6 density, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. These also are our chakras. And as we began, this is a fractal system. And so, in each level, it is just a reiteration of the same. Now, we have 64 strands of DNA that are divided, and 8 strands of DNA are first activated, and we're in first density. We start with 2 strands of DNA activated. And as we have experiences in first density, and we do have conscious experiences, and you can talk, literally talk to atmosphere, has one consciousness at that level. You can talk to water, you can talk to earth, and you can talk to fire. It has a consciousness that you can converse with and learn of their experiences that they have. At first density, with 8 strands of DNA activated, the types of experiences that they have are pre-emotional. They're sensory experiences. Okay? And in that first level, we are assigned the energy is actually invested by 6th density. 7th density holds holds in place planets, suns, things of that nature, the physical perceptions that we have of the universe. 7th density actually holds this in place and forms this by what is called a consciousness construct. They just think it's going to be like that and holds it in place. And that's why planets and all the parts of the universe that we see and perceive are constant. Those are playing grounds, essentially. 7th density actually invests the energy in order to bring these to life, as we would say. So, but actually, Earth, Gaia, is alive. It has its own consciousness. It has its own set of chakras. It has its own cumulative consciousness of the 4 elements. Okay?
Is that what the meridians, is that, or are they like the earth? What is it that goes through the earth? Is, we've talked about the, like ley lines and things, is that kind of part of the?
That's just part of the energy structure.
Oh, okay.
That's part of the consciousness construct of they wanted to look this way, so like in Star Wars, you set up force fields and this sort of thing in order to hold it in place. And first density is timeless. There's no time. You can't really measure billions of years at that level of experience. But our consciousness level is limited by our DNA. And as it's limited, we have experiences, and we begin to accumulate additional consciousness. And we do that by learning the experiences of this contact with this exposure to other elements. Now, when we are invested by sixth density into first density, we are assigned a polarity. And we are assigned a polarity in equal quantity so that it will be balanced in every experience that occurs. And the balance that is assigned determines, well, having difficulty with putting into words what my mind is thinking. I know nobody else has that problem.
Every day.
The reason we call Mother Earth, because female energy, negatively polarized energy, is Earth. Every planet is that.
Every planet?
Uh-huh. And those are our choices of how we are assigned gender. And we will retain the gender that we are assigned all the way back to here. We lose our gender here. Sixth density still has gender, but it's only a polarity. And this is all kept in balance. And this has absolutely very little, if anything, to do with manifestation in physical form or of male or female. This is energetically a polarity. We will incarnate in different physical bodies to give us the variety of experience that we need that goes with that physicality. Okay? Now, the rest of the DNA allocation goes exactly the same way. In second density, we will have a maximum of 16 DNA strands activated. In third density, where we are, we have a maximum of 24. In fourth density, we have a maximum of 32. In fifth density, we have a maximum of 40. Watch, this won't come out right. 56 and 64. Dish. Okay? Now, some of you may know that science has measured that we have 64 strands of DNA and we have 20 strands of DNA that have been activated, and they attributed the other 44 to junk DNA, that it just was from our history that we never really needed it, that we've outgrown it, which is just the opposite situation. We haven't grown into it yet. Okay? So last May 6th, we had artificially stimulated 2 strands of DNA, which brought us up to 22. And December 21st, which is part of what's happening, we will receive activation of 2 more strands of DNA, which will bring us up to 24. It will bring us up to the top of our third density experience. Now what this is only capacity. This is not consciousness. If you think of this as a coin purse, and they give you the coin purse, and then it's up to you to get the coins to put into the purse. That's how we become co-creators.
At present, it's not 24, but it will be this, we will move to the 24.
December 21st, we will get 2 more strands of DNA, which will bring us up to 24.
And we've already moved up to 22.
And if you have been watching things happening around the world, the collective consciousness of the planet has increased pretty dramatically in just the last few months. And the reason is somebody's catching on, because a lot are not catching on. The collective consciousness of the planet is...
You've been determining that by the kinesiology.
Well, I've cheated, I've asked.
He's past
But
the
just
kinesiology.
observing behavior. Just observing behavior, you can see changes that have been taking place. Not dramatically.
But in science and physics, all the new things that they're coming up with and all that, does it have anything to do with that?
Well, there are many things that have to do with that. That's intellect.
But at the same time,
It does have some bearing on it,
awareness.
yes.
Are they recognizing that, the science, the physicists and so forth, are they recognizing those?
Not that I've heard. I mean, they did their genome project, and so they figured, that's going to be unchanging for a
End of
while.
story, yeah.
But my understanding that it was supposed to take 4 to 6 months for this to begin to manifest in the physical anyway. Physical always manifests, way behind what is done to us spiritually.
Now, this DNA, the DNA that you're referencing here and how the different strands are activated and have different polarities, what you just said about on the physical plane, it actually manifests and affects us physically much later than that high vibration of consciousness or of the creator that's actually processing it intellectually at that time.
Right.
So that's sort of why we have that date in December when this DNA and all these changes that'll take place. Does that mean that on that date everything will be officially, activated and we can all say, okay, got to that
A
point?
lot of other things are happening on that day, and all of that, they don't use the Gregorian calendar. We're the only ones that do that. So the December 21st date is inconsequential as far as they're concerned. It is an astrological alignment date, and so it's more time to alignment of astrological bodies, which is the clock that they use.
But it will, on the physical plane.
It will manifest.
It will manifest. Will it be what we're discussing right now? Will that be manifested on that day? I mean,
No, it's not.
It's
It's not.
difficult to gauge time, and you know what I mean. Will this? It's just, I don't know. It's just very difficult to talk about time in terms of when something will happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in our time, we're within time, and so what I got off the first 2 strands of DNA that it would take 4 to 6 months, and again, part of that is whoever takes the bull by the horns and starts actively working on filling that DNA is going to manifest more quickly than someone that's completely oblivious to it and continues living the same life that they had.
Okay. Yeah, I could see how that would be in that where awareness comes in.
Right.
Yeah. Are you aware that this is what's going on, rather than someone that has no idea what we're talking about? They may notice some manifestation differences, but it's completely different than not being aware.
Right, and how you can see things that are changing culturally is, the growth of the spiritual community industry and all the websites that have popped up, and whether they have the information right or wrong is not as important. What is important is that they're focusing on that aspect of their existence as opposed to being so attached to the physical. And what is characteristic, if you observe in my previous illustration where I drew the intelligent energy division, it's heavily involved with the attachment to physical the farther down the scale that you are. And if you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle's teachings, and it's all about unattaching from the physical, which is how we progress through the densities, is unattaching more and more so. And the second density is plants and animals that work instinctively. They're significantly a step above the first density animals, but they too are terribly attached to the physical. So their existence is survival. And the lower parts, this is not a break point in between these other than the physical existence. Behaviorally, it's very similar. So you kind of bleed from one to the other as you prepare at this level to function at this level, but you're at the bottom of this level, so you have many of these characteristics. And as you learn, then you move up towards the top of the scale. And the same has been true of our existence here. If you look back in the history of mankind, what we would deem to be very primitive behavior was simply transition from second density and moving into third density. We became less primitive. We became more civilized, theoretically, in developing behavior and characteristics that we identify more as higher intelligence is actually higher consciousness. And another important point here is our behavior is determined by our consciousness. Our consciousness is not determined by our behavior. So as our consciousness rises, our behavior changes. David Hawkins did a wonderful job of creating a human consciousness scale and actually classifying and categorizing the different levels of behavior based upon emotions, based upon consciousness levels. And all humanity will experience the same sort of behavior at each level of consciousness. If your consciousness, for example, is at the level of 10% or 100% of our potential for the whole range, you're functioning at a level of fear. And no matter whether you are in Seattle or South Africa or Russia, you'll have cultural differences, but your behavior will be essentially the same based upon your consciousness level, which resides at a low level of fear. Everyone will experience love at about 50%, no matter where you are in the love. You will experience universal love at about 54%. You will experience peace and calm at about 60%. And you will experience enlightenment at about 70%. If you reach that level of consciousness, those are the experiences that you will have. Can't help it. Yes, sir.
Would it be accurate to say that the real crux of these whole series of lectures is the preparation for that right there? For taking it to become aware of and utilize and develop those extra DNA strands?
Well, that would be great, yeah. I mean, I would love for that to happen, but there's a lot more happening that this is part of, and understanding, the structure and what's happening will help you appreciate it, participate and enjoy it. Because things are changing, and for those who don't understand it, it's going to be terribly frightening. So you that are here for a purpose, and the purpose is to be able to extend understanding and calm to those who do not understand. Whether you want to or not. Okay? The densities are the playground. That's where all of the experiencing of the Creator takes place in all the different levels. And as we are capable, we extend our contribution to those that are around us, and they to us. Okay. Back here. Okay. Here. Second density. Gee, we're just flying along here. Okay. this is obviously the first level of awareness. It's us. And just to give you a little bit of history, what normally this experience, this is a defined experience. This is the first level of a defined experience. These two are essentially timeless. Okay, and 6th density is not really involved with that. That's really a 7th density function because it kind of runs on its own, and as you gather enough consciousness, then you move along on the scale. This is the playground right here. This is where all significant learning and advancement happens, not only for us, but for these two levels and all of these as well. All the progression of significance that takes place in 4th, 5th, and 6th density, as well as 3rd density, take place in 3rd density. So this is the playing field. Okay? These densities do not have a playing field, a significant playing field, other than our playing field.
Why is that?
Why?
Why is 3rd density such a critical point?
Because it's such a fun place to be.
Why not?
Everybody wants to be here.
Everything happens.
This is where the action is.
No, that didn't answer my question, but that's okay.
Okay, well,
This is the school, everybody has to
No,
come
I
in and go to school.
understand what 3rd density is. I understand the importance of it. I'm just wondering why 3rd density was the spot to do all that.
this
And
is
Dean,
for-
are you meaning that here, like Earth, as 3rd density?
well, Earth is 3rd density, yes, but in the
The other
anyway.
density.
Milky Way galaxy, there's approximately 67 million planets that are inhabited by 3rd, 4th, and 5th density. And 26% of those are in the same level of consciousness that we are in. And there are multiple experiences that are going on here simultaneously with us. Dolphins and whales are in the same level of consciousness that we are in. Their experience obviously is significantly different from ours, but their consciousness level is the same as ours. And they are about to experience the same things that we are about to experience.
Will they understand it?
Huh?
Will they understand it?
They have the same understanding that we have. They don't have the dexterity and the other attributes that we consider what make us us. But yes, they have the same capacity to understand.
Only those who go to the dean's counterpart teaching the dolphin teaching
right.
them.
Theirs is in the Caribbean. And
That's not fair.
And see, in that other world, we have a dolphin teaching the other dolphins that the poor earthlings they're at our same awareness, but
stay away from it.
they can move their arms and talk,
I'm sure
but
they do that.
Well, actually, the creation, it was determined that the creation of our thumb is an opposable digit is one of the primary causes of our difficulties because it affords us the opportunity to do battle.
oh,
Without a thumb, it'd be real tough to hold an axe. And so, the debate was had, well, do we want to do any more thumbs?
It also helps with creation somewhere too, doesn't it?
Huh?
It also has the positive thing of helping with creation, helping the individual.
It provides opportunities for the Creator to know itself. But do you really want to have another Earth? Earth is a very, very difficult experience compared to other 3rd density experiences. It is most unique. And there is a lot of stuff going on here that doesn't go on elsewhere. They kind of loaded everything up. Well, let's just throw something else on the pile there and see how it affects things.
This is the Earth Academy.
Well, for its purpose, it's perfect though.
Well, yeah. Yeah. But the question has been raised, did we load too much on one in order to make it productive? Because we are years behind where other 3rd density experiences are, but it's not a contest. It's not a race to get to the end. The purpose is to create experiences so the Creator might know itself. Okay? So from that standpoint, it's successful. Of course, you know, when you're sitting in the press box or the owner's stable and you're not down here in the swamp, it doesn't look so bad.
Yeah, the alligators make it tough.
That's right.
I hope they decide to get bonus points then.
No, don't get any bonus. Don't get any bonus.
Well, you stood in line to come here, so.
Yeah.
Yes, and we did stand in line here. Everybody that is here on Earth stood in line to be here now. This is a most unique experience. This is an experience that we're about to experience has never happened in the history of creation before.
Did we compete to get here?
We did.
Wow.
We're here by seniority.
If you read the river.
That's not a competition if we were here by seniority.
Well, the seniority is seniority towards the potential for graduation, which is down the road in my explanations. But, yeah. And it's not because you were necessarily the best.
Right.
Uh-oh.
We should
Now
say
we're
that.
back.
Yeah.
The fittest.
Okay. Well, we've gone over our time tonight, which I have a tendency to do. Y'all have to throw shoes at me or something when you have to stop.
How much
That's why I put the clock up here.
How much do you have left for this particular
A lot.
session?
A lot. The evolution is a long one. Okay. Do y'all have any questions?
Many, but I can't articulate. I'm going to have to sleep on this.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Well, thank you for coming. We will adjourn and meet same time and pick up where we left off tonight, next week, and continue on. And again, this is all background stuff, but it's important to understand this in order to understand the significance of what is going to happen.
How can we find a link to the YouTube video?
It'll be on Prima Healing, whatever you call it, channel. Thank you.
It will be out there before the second one? Well, the second one?
Yeah, I'll try and get it up this weekend.
Great. What was I thinking about for next week? I wanted to see it before.
Yeah,
So if we just put Prima Healing in, we'll get it?
Prima Healing meditation. Yeah, put it on there. Should bring it up. I'll try to put a link on our website too. So you know, just click and go to it. If y'all have not signed in, please do so. And I'll send you a link to it.
Do you want us to sign even if you already have our info? Are you wanting us to sign even if you already have
Now,
it?
just put your name. You don't need all the info. Just put your name on it so we know who's here. Yeah, that's right. And you do, for being in this Earth adventure, you don't get a T-shirt, but you do get a star on your report card.